If 2009 Star Trek is Space Journey, then 1986's Star Trek For the Voyage Home is Earth Journey. But find out why I say that. Let's start the show. So tonight on Future Earth, we're gonna look at a thunderstorm. Then we're gonna jump to an old Klingon ship. We're gonna go to right outside the movie theater where you're watching this movie in 1986, and you're gonna pay us a lot of money because that's what we do here at Paramount. But anyway, tonight we're doing Star Trek for The Voyage Home. Slight giveaway. This is not one of my favorites, but I'll come back to that later. I'm not alone, however. I bring in the people who help me. This person here, he has more money than anybody I've ever met. I'm incredibly jealous, but incredibly proud of him. Let's bring him in right now. This is Vic. Vic, how are you doing, sir?
Chilling, man. How are you?
I'm jealous, as I said, but I'm happy for you nonetheless.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank
No, I think I'm slightly sick. I have some kind of head cold, but that's okay. A doctor gave me a pill, and I grew new allergies, so don't worry.
you. That part was hilarious.
We want to bring in E Boogie next. Now, E Boogie, she seems to be under the sea. I don't know if she's about to sing a song, but there's a whale behind her. E, what are you doing? What's going on?
I'm under the sea
There you go. And is that whale
with the
friendly? Or
whales.
will he attack at any point?
No, I don't think I'm his on his palate. It's
Okay. Well,
not really his thing.
I didn't take it in that direction. I just thought, protecting this territory. But if you got it, you got it.
Oh no, we
Uh,
good over here. We cool.
okay. And last but not least, we have the person who brought us Star Trek, and this is the executive consultant. Sir, how you doing?
I am doing. I can't even tie it into Star Trek. I'm usually really good at tying stuff into it, but I'm doing well, man. Star Trek 4. A
Yeah.
lot of people's favorite Star Trek. So I'm interested to hear why it is
Me
not one of
too.
yours.
That is a true statement, and it's a lot of people's fan favorite in the series, especially with the TOS, even including the Next Generation cast of films. Brief synopsis on this movie, and then we're going to jump into what we thought about it. This is the fourth entry of the original series cast, and in this one, it picks up right after The Search of Spock, and arguably 2, 3, and 4 are direct sequels to each other. Okay, in the series of films, if you're going back and you're watching them along with us, you'll know that. So this picks up right after The Search for Spock. The crew of the Enterprise is still on the planet Vulcan, and they have been summoned back to Earth, the capital not the capital, but to San Francisco, Starfleet headquarters, to stand trial because they stole the Enterprise in the previous film. They went to a planet that was quarantined and forbidden to go to. Yet and still, they also stopped Khan. They brought back a reanimated, I guess you could say, Spock that they found on the planet, and they stopped the Klingons from getting the Genesis device, which most shortly they would have used as a weapon. Nonetheless, we have the Klingon ambassador to the Federation, and he wants justice because they killed Klingons, and they have this weapon which he believes and says that the Federation is going to use against the Klingon Empire. So on their way back, they find out that there's also a probe on its way to Earth, and wouldn't you know it, well, in this case, not all the ships in the quadrant are gone except for the Enterprise, but they're all depowered because this cylindrical mass is putting out this energy wave, and it is kind of siphoning the power off everything, almost like a EMP pulse is going out. And so, even on Earth, there's no power on the planet. And if it continues, everybody there will die. So, a distress signal SOS is sent out saying avoid the planet at all costs. And the Enterprise crew decides, no, we're not going to do that because, of course, we don't listen anyway. And we're going to do what we've done in the original series, which is a nice callback. And we're going to slingshot around the sun. And that's going to put us back in time if we can kind of guesstimate, because they figure out that it's calling out to cetaceans, which are what we call whales. And since they are extinct in the 23rd century at that time, they're going to go back to a time when they were still alive, the late 20th century. And the movie picks up then, and it's the adventure of the crew trying to get whales trying to repower this Klingon bird of prey and get back to their time in the 23rd century, as I said, and communicate, hopefully, the whales can, with this probe of unknown origin in order to save the planet. So, who would like to go first as far as what they thought of Star Trek 4? Vic, now I know in times past you said that you had trouble understanding the films because of the lines and dialogue. I don't know if you want to go first or if you want somebody else to
Sure,
go.
I'll go first.
Oh,
Well, one thing that I'm curious about is how much money the WWF invested in this movie because I remember around that time there was a really big Save the Whales campaign,
oh,
right? And mind you, what I remember about it was killer whales because there was this big thing with the killer whales. And watching this movie, I've learned quite a bit about blue whales, but I can also just think back to just the marketing and the campaign about in that whole time because it was like 5,000 of them left, and the funny thing is that now this movie did a very good job of just getting me curious to the facts here, to like what's going on with the whales and what's popping with the whales and just the whole back and forth with the whales and the way that the whales communicate, and for it to be way in the future and for them to use a whale song which lasts like 3 to 6 minutes. I think that's what it is. I thought just the whole thing was just pretty brilliant the way that they put it together. Now the other thing I noticed is that now that we're getting a little bit more into the characters, um, I find it amazing how now like we have Spock in our pocket. So because Spock is so literal about everything, because he's just like a computer. You know what I mean? Like everything about him is just so like logical and factual, and there's no like feelings to him, which is just very interesting. So the other thing, it made me understand Sheldon Cooper a little bit better now, because he's just like the modern day Spock basically. uh and with all of that being said, I definitely was entertained, but the whole time I really was wondering, like, clearly this whole thing right here was just pushing the narrative of the whales, the whales, the whales. So I'm just really curious to see like who really put the funding to this and how much was behind this, because it's just like it felt like Star Trek Back to the Future saved the whales. This whole thing.
well, Vic, let me just say you jump from Wales to Marty McFly,
I
and
mean, it's like they went back to the future. The only thing that was missing was Christopher Lloyd, because I was thinking about that. I was like,
well, he
damn,
was in the previous one.
he was in the last movie,
Yeah.
but not in this movie. And they doing all of this. It was all,
Quick question before I jump to E. Did you learn anything about humpback whales? I know you mentioned blue whales, but what about humpback whales in this movie?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah. It was them. But the point is just that the whole narrative was just about the whales in general. I mean, it just brought me back to that time, and I just remember the marketing when I was a kid. And this came out 89, 90, right?
86.
86. Wow, look at that. Yeah. So yeah, because I mean, mind you, that stuff was going on for a long time, and even now, I mean, mind you, well, the update is that they went from 5,000 to like 130 now. So apparently the humpback whales are very promiscuous, and like they're
Well, the name is in the title.
Colombia, and all this other stuff. At least from the little bit that I've read, but yeah, yeah, it was quite interesting.
Little
Pretty
known fact, though, as you say that the number has increased among humpback whales, Japan has never seen. Japan has anyway. E, would you? For those who got that reference, you got that reference. But E, would you like to go next? What did you think about Star Trek?
You stupid.
They still hunt whales in Japan, so clearly they've never seen Star Trek 4 or any kind of conservation film.
They're still trying to get them to stop that
Yeah,
over there. There's like a campaign going on over
exactly.
there.
Yeah, this movie. Well, you know, once again, it completely shifted how it looked. In the last movie, I think I mentioned how much older everyone looked, and just in full HD, you can see their pores and the sweat beads forming on their brows. And in this one, there was like a soft, like Instagram version 1
Yeah.
filter on it, which was very pretty and very 80s. Did kind of up the cheesy factors for me, because when stuff just kind of has that glowy, soft, dreamy rents over it, it just kind of takes out any of the escapism for me. Like, I know I'm watching some 80s film right now, and that's fine. Now, this movie didn't really marry into the other films for me. The other films definitely were more space exploration and trying to understand new cultures, new alien life forms, or how they can help them or how they can escape them. And this one was very much so like very now, not to say Captain Kirk's whole planning whatever is always A1 and based in foundations of science, but this plan really felt like it was on a whim. And like it was like the wheels turned and time travel seemed like the first answer, and that seemed really odd to me. um the science isn't sound, and that can be okay, but when you go out of your way and kind of play with, I never get playing with time travel. I feel like this bent the rules a lot in that realm, particularly with taking the lady home, the whale lady, whatever her name is.
Mhm.
80s movie, blonde mom, babysitter lady who's
Gillian.
in stuff,
Gillian's her name.
whatever her name is.
Catherine Hickman.
Yes, her. Bringing her into the futures felt weird to me. It felt unlawful, and while we do bend the rules in order to do the greater good, this didn't feel like it fed the greater good necessarily to bring her along. I don't know why she was able to tag along. I don't know how they justified her staying tagged along. And yeah, this was kind of nonsensical to me plot wise.
The 23rd century needed a marine biologist.
Yeah, it's not connecting. There's a disconnect with me for that. I'm sorry. The vastness of knowledge that's available in that time period, and we need a marine biologist from the 21st century. Sorry, 20th century Terra Nova or whatever the hell it's called. Girl, I'm just not sold. And then to imagine these whales that are going extinct will come to the future and tell their, what is the word I'm thinking of?
Friends.
That's not even their friends. It's like some evolved.
They were talking to him for a while, so
whatever it is, telling them that they're okay, like just banking on whales being like, oh no, humans are cool. Yeah, let them live. Like, felt very not realistic. Even for me to be watching a science fiction, fantasy, all that, it just felt not within my grasp conceptually. Why would that happen? Why would they do that? I don't know. We're literally killing where we're killing them and we're killing where they live, but we're going to depend on them to save us in the future. I just don't get that. Fashions were giving. I was very impressed with the 80s twist on the different costumes with the jackets. Loved the jackets. This was a really jacket heavy costume situation, but I liked it. I like how they worked it with different styles. It really did it for me. And yeah, that's what I got. This was interesting. I really feel like Free Willy is fully derivative of this, like entirely. This only came out like 4 or 5 years after, maybe 10, maybe 8. I think like 8. Very derivative. Interesting. I mean, excluding the whole space forward in time whale song prober thing. Yeah. I don't know. That's what I got.
Look, let me tell you, this movie had the perfect villain in the Doomsday Device, because when it showed up and it started to turn people's electricity off, I felt the fear, right? I felt the fear. I was like, this is going to be a bomb villain. This is going to be better than the last one in Star Trek 3, which I forgot his name already. It's going to be better than Khan. It's going to be better than a probe from the 20th century. This is what I'm looking for right here, the Doomsday Machine. Now, that being said, Slingshot Around the Sun, they're in the 1980s. Everything I wanted to know about Star Trek, I wanted to see in the 1980s. That's what I wanted to see. This movie took a comedic twist from the previous Star Treks. And I think it actually needed to be a little bit more lighthearted in this movie. I think Spock did a fantastic job in this movie as somebody who died, came back to life, and is trying to find himself. Brilliant. Splitting up the pairs of the crew with people that you normally are with. You know, you don't see Dr. McCoy with Scotty too much. You don't see Uhura with Chekhov too much. You know, Sulu's by himself doing this thing. That's what he did in real life. So that's important to notate and to watch. And I like the comedy of this movie. I like the Doomsday Machine in this movie. I like seeing Starfleet in San Francisco or you know, in the space star bases and stuff like that. I love the scene at the end where they reveal the Enterprise A. One of my favorite Enterprises, Enterprise A. This looks exactly the same as Enterprise, but I liked Enterprise A a little bit better. Don't ask me why, because I can't give you a logical explanation, but I liked Enterprise A a little bit better. But the reveal of it was almost as sweet, even though a millionth time shorter than in the Star Trek 1, the motion picture reveal of the Enterprise. I feel fine.
I think y'all made valid points. I have 4 bullet points that I'm gonna go over. Let me just start with the last one. To Chris's point, though, yes, I think this is the most comedic. Even though one of the reasons why I wane on this movie, well, why I waned on Search for Spock, let me not say this movie, is because it couldn't decide whether or not it wanted to be a serious film. You have very serious elements in that, and then you have this comedic, nonsensical stuff, and they break their own rules in Star Trek logic. That's something I can't stand. You know, if you create a universe, hold to your own rules, don't break it fast and loose. That ties me into E's point. I don't know that slingshotting around the sun will allow me to travel back in time. If I go fast enough and I slow it down at the right moment, I can pick which decade of whatever century I go to. I don't know. We don't have that technology, right? But let's say I suspend my disbelief for that point. You know what I mean? If you go one step too far, it's too much for me. And when she said that they allowed the marine biologist, now the logic behind that is because there's nobody who has ever seen a whale in their time. So they need somebody who has practical on it. It would be like if somebody lived with dinosaurs versus us who study the bones. You need somebody who's seen them living and has studied them. And clearly she's done that for years and years and years. So I understand that. But the fact that we don't know if her descendants were supposed to have been somebody to shape the destiny of their future, they just take her because she hugged Kirk when they teleported. You know what I mean? Like, or transported. You can't do that. There's no scene, and we've seen this in TOS, where they say, hey, who is this person? Do they matter? Do their generations after them matter? Yeah, they do. Okay, they got to go back. You know what I mean? Maybe she still knows that the future exists and everything, but there's no scene, no just dialogue when they're walking to the bridge to say, who does she become? Who are her descendants, right? Also, when the whales got back, did they say, hey, yeah, these humans, they're all right. I mean, yeah, they did keep us in a tank and forcefully breed us and then release us and then kidnap us and then brought us 200 years in the future. And even
Don't
though,
forget it was this close to being killed.
okay, that's true, but even though there are no other whales in the future, so our child will just die eventually. So please don't come back. But these humans are good. So I just want to highlight that because that was a good point that I never considered before, right? Tonally, as I said, already touched on that. This one does it better because there's more, it's more comedic and it's supposed to be that. And I did like the scenes with them in San Francisco in the 80s, especially with Scotty and the doctor when they're going to the plexiglass, I guess, company or whatever. It's very, very funny. And both of them are so smart, but they're so dumb in this time. And the only one who actually seems to know what they're talking about is Sulu, who is able to weave in and out of time. You know, like, yeah, he knows about Huey's, you know, he studied all that. He likes that. But I love the scene when Scotty is talking into the mouse. He doesn't even know, you know what I mean? And the guy's just like, but yet he can pick and peck super fast now. He's like Data on the keyboard. So I don't understand that, but whatever. I called it earlier and I said that this is the Earth journey. It's Star Trek. I don't necessarily like it when the entire movie takes place on Earth and, you know, they're not in space. This is why I see Star Trek. If it's Star Wars and it's only one planet, what are we doing? Why am I here? You know what I mean? You're supposed to do things, show me things that I can't see in my day to day. What do I want to see? The 80s San Francisco. I thought it was Golden Child for a second, and they started playing that 80s tinny music to E's point, you know, with the Vaseline on the lens. So everybody has that, you know, 1950s Hollywood glam sheen on it. They did look better in this movie than they will in the subsequent film. Even though this movie made a ton of profit, they gave William Shatner $20 for that film. They were disrespectful. More on that later. But overall, I think that Leonard Nimoy, he felt more comfortable as a director his second time out in this movie. And I think he did far better than he did in Search for Spock. And I'll leave it at that for right now. Chris is gesturing down at the bottom. Somebody is supposed to send us to a commercial, but we'll be right back. We're going to tell you what we're coming up with next. Oh, and if you didn't know, coming up soon, we're going to be doing musicals. Stay tuned for that.
You can't expect us to stand by while you take the ship into the Great Barrier.
What you fear is the unknown.
We have a dangerous situation out on Nimbus 3.
I have no desire to harm these innocents, but do not put me to the test. I implore you.
You look like you've just seen a ghost.
Perhaps I have, Captain.
Shoot him!
You and Cyborg have the same father, but different mothers.
Our destination is the planet Shaka.
Spock, my only concern is getting the ship back. You're either with me or you're not. I've never trusted Klingons. And I never will.
I can never forgive them for the death of my boy.
Empire has roughly 50 years of life left.
We have volunteered to rendezvous with the Klingon vessel which is bringing Chancellor Gorkon to Earth.
They're animals, Jim. There is an historic opportunity here.
I have so wanted to meet you, Captain. From one warrior to another.
I offer a toast. The undiscovered country.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Star Trek franchise continues next week when we actually are going to be playing Star Trek 5 as well as Star Trek 6. Look for that on our YouTube channel, Unpopular Review Entertainment. But today we're reviewing Star Trek 4. And I'll be a little bit ashamed to talk about it since James did mention it a little bit earlier. But Music Month is upon us, and we'll be reviewing a lot of movies this month that are musicals. So you see the smiley face I have because it's going to remind me of Police Academy all over again. But hey, it's a dirty job and somebody got to do it. Can't wait till we get to mine. In the meantime, let's go ahead and discuss it. I feel fine. Let's take it away.
All right. So all in all, as I said, and I kind of teased earlier, it's not my favorite, but does that make it a bad movie? No, not at all. It holds up better than some of the other ones for many different reasons, which I'll get into that later in subsequent episodes. But it does its job. The studio was happy. It made its money. What can I say? It's a thumbs up.
All right, Vic, on you.
Well, from the outside looking in, it's a money grab, a Save the Whale campaign, and a good time. Thumbs up.
E-Boogie.
I have very mixed feelings on this film. Had this nothing set up before it, had this been its completely own story or film, I think I might have appreciated it more. I imagine seeing this film in the 80s felt very cool and, you know, hip and modern for this series. It gave me the same feelings I might have as a 90s kid watching Terminator 2. Just like a very edgy, kind of cool, oh, that's my neighborhood type of whatever to it. That being said, this film was such a far distance, far cry from what I had seen previously. I missed being in space. I missed those epic and dramatic shots of the ships in space. The monolith cylindrical probe, whatever it was not appealing to the eye. They did pull a lot of that same visual effect with this thing. It was just less impressive and didn't really seal the deal for me. Yeah, it's a thumbs down for me. I will say though, I was happy with the fact that they dedicated the film to the crew of the Challenger. I thought that was really cool, and yeah, just a nice nod to them.
2 thumbs up and 1 thumbs down. Let me tell you something. This movie is known as the favorite for many Star Trek fans. I actually see where it's beaten Wrath of Khan in some polls. And it's actually the most profitable Star Trek before Space Journey came out. So that says a lot about this particular movie. It was very well known, very well respected, very well liked. That being said, it's not one of my favorite Star Treks either. I enjoyed it. It will get a thumbs up for me because I did enjoy the movie, but it's sometimes when I'm doing my Star Trek marathons, this is one where I have skipped. Not often, not most of the time, but this is one where I have skipped because sometimes it just feels like total detour from where they should have been going. And I don't understand why they did that. But anyway, thumbs up for me, 3 thumbs up, 1 thumbs down. Thank you so much for watching us here at Unpopular Reviews. We continue on our Star Trek franchise, boldly going where no man or woman has gone before. Stay with us. I'm sorry, not stay with us. Watch us next time as we review Star Trek V, The Final Frontier. So, for I Feel Fine, for Vic, for E-Boogie, I'm the exec consultant. We will see you next time here on Unpopular Review. Goodbye, everybody.